Hi everyone, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is today's card. When I open it up, it does that, which I hope you'll agree is pretty darned impressive. Now, as you know, I absolutely love kinetic and action cards. I think that for somebody special, they are definitely worth the extra time that it takes to make one. And of course, when I saw this, I just went, wow. And I think everybody else in the Facebook group where it was posted was also saying wow. Now, it was posted by Linda Shrimpton, so thank you very much, Linda, for posting that. And of course everybody was saying, can we have a tutorial, can you show us how you did it? And she posted a link to a blog where she'd found instructions, and the blog was in German, and I don't speak German, but luckily the blogger had posted at the top of the page, thanks to Kevin Devine. So I was in full Sherlock Holmes mode, and off I went to try and find Kevin Devine, and I found his YouTube tutorial. Now, Kevin is in the US and works in Imperial, in feet and inches. I'm in the UK and we work in metric, and the paper size is slightly different. A4 is a little bit longer than 8.5 by 11, but a little bit narrower. I think it's about 8 1/4 by about 11, and 11 3/4, something like that. So I wanted to adapt it and make sure that it worked for UK sizes. So this is my version of it. I hope that you like it, and stay with me. I will show you how I made it. This card mechanism is more about proportions than 3, 2, 1. This card mechanism is more about proportions than measurements. So for a change, I'm going to work in metric today. So I've got my metric conversion plate on my simply scored board here. And I have a piece of Watermelon Wonder card. And I'm going to put a mark at the halfway point, which is 10.5 centimeters or 105 millimeters. Now I've marked the those key measurements with white marker so that I can find them easily. And turn it round, and I'm going to do the same. Now I could score right along it, but if I do that, the score will show in the finished article, and I don't want that, so I'm just going to mark for now. But I am going to score at the halfway point between the mark I've just made and the edge of the card, and that is at 52.5 millimeters, and it's the kind of the third of the special marks there. So I'm just going to score all the way along the bottom there, and I'm going to repeat that on the other edge of the card. And before I put my simply scored away, now for some reason the metric plate doesn't have a mark at halfway along A4 that way, so I'm going to score it at 15 centimeters. And I will need to trim a little bit off one edge, but that's fine because it will help it fit in my card a bit better. So I'm not really bothered about that. That's this stage. All right. So I can put my simply scored away for now. Now I have a ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to join up those two marks that I made at the midpoint. I'm going to take my time and make sure it's a nice straight line. And there it is. Okay. Now, this is the important bit. I want to create cross folds there to there. And the easiest way of doing it is to put my finger on that point there, and I want this line to line up with that line. Let me get this right. Okay, I want to create the cross folds, and the simplest way of doing it, no measurement way of doing it, is I'm just putting my finger on that point there, and I'm just bringing the card over so that this line, this fold line, lines up with the pencil mark that I've just made. And I'm just going to make sure that that is square. And burnish it off. There's my one line, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm just folding my paper over, and I want that fold to connect with that line, and it's important to get it straight. And there's my cross in the middle of my card. I've burnished and tidied up my cross folds. Now I'm folding my card and I'm placing it so that the fold is to my left, because I'm right-handed. If I were left-handed, I would place it so it was to the right. It doesn't really matter. Now on this fold line here, I'm marking 3.5 centimeters, approximately. All right, this isn't really that critical. And if I was doing it in inches, it would be about 1.5 inches. And then on the bottom edge, I'm marking at 2 centimeters. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm marking on this side 3.5 centimeters on the fold and 2 centimeters on the outer edge, and I'm just going to join those lines together with a pencil mark. Now you notice that I'm working on the same side, but I've already got a pencil mark on. This will all be hidden. Right, now I've got my big snips scissors, and I'm going to cut up as far as there, and I'm going to cut up as far as there. Now if I were a tidy cutter outer, I would then cut along those lines with my big scissors, but I'm not a tidy cutter outer, so I'm going to use my Stampin' trimmer, and I'm going to put some marks along there, and I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and I am going to place the fold into the channel, and my cutting blade, I'm just going to cut up as far as that mark I made. And I'm going to go backwards and forwards a couple of times, and I'm going to do the same on this side, only this time I'm starting on that mark, and I'm cutting in. All right, that's what I wind up with. Now I just need to collapse the shape, so I'm going to put it so that the clean side is facing up, because that's the part that you'll see when you open the card, and I'm just going to pick up my fingers underneath those folds there and pinch and bring that forward and collapse that shape. And where's my bone folder gone? Here it is. And I'm just going to finally burnish in those shapes. and that is the piece that is going to go inside my card, and it's going to make the magic happen. I've applied tearing tape around all of the edges on both sides of my Watermelon Wonder piece, and before I go and put it into my card, I want to line it so that it's got a nice bright pop of colour when you open it. So I will show you how I did that. So first of all, I measured my piece, and I found that when it was folded, it was 14 centimetres by 10 centimetres. So I cut myself a piece of Daffodil Delight that was 9 centimetres by 13.5 centimetres, because that would give me the amount of margin I wanted around the inside. Now, if you were doing this in Imperial, you would just measure it and you would just reduce the size a little bit so that it got, you got the amount of border that you wanted. Now, I know this is 9 centimetres and I want to measure it halfway at 4.5 centimetres. And then I'm going to turn my card and I'm going to measure to 4.5 centimetres here, and I'm going to do the same thing on this edge. Okay, let me just double check that. Measure twice, cut once, as they say. Yep, okay. So now I'm just going to join up those marks that I just made with a pencil line. And this is going to be on the reverse, so I'm not really worried about leaving marks on it. I could have done it in pen if I'd wanted to, but pencil is working fine. So I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Trimmer. Now again, if you're good with a scissors or a craft knife, you might prefer to do this with one of those tools. I am not the safest person in the world with a craft knife in my hand, and I just can't cut straight with scissors, so for me this thing is an absolute godsend. Now, you probably noticed on this one that I've gone ahead and I've done some stamping on it. I want to make my own pattern. On this one I want to have a greeting as well, and I'm using stamps from, actually it's from this kit. It's called Oh Happy Day. Now, I didn't get the whole kit, I only got the stamps because I went to a Stampin' Up training day and I got them as a freebie. So I was lucky, and I got to get the stamp set. So if you want to go to Stampin' Up training days, then do you know what? Think about joining as a demonstrator, because there are all sorts of perks and privileges that you get, including discounts and getting early access to stamps and other goodies. So, just saying. Right, so I inked this up in basic grey and I'm kind of hovering, and I'm just going to press down and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, it is a photopolymer stamp set, so I've got a silicone mat underneath, and to be honest, I always stamp on a silicone mat anyway, and yeah, that's okay. It's a little bit pale because this is the first time I've used that stamp, but do you know what? I can live with it. For this particular effect, I'm happy with that. And the other stamp that I've got from the same set, and it says yay, and this I'm just going to have a bit of fun with, and I'm just going to stamp at random all over the back, all of the background. To my piece of Watermelon Wonder, and I'm going to use wet glue. And you could use snail, You could use tearing tape, you could use fast fuse, you could use whatever you want, whatever your heart desires. Okay, so just go ahead and use it. Alright, so that now is going to be ready to go inside my card. To save a bit of time, I've gone ahead and started to decorate the outside of the card. So this is just a piece of Daffodil Delight, and I've run it through the Big Shot with the Lucky Stars embossing folder and just glued that down onto the front of my piece of Emerald Envy. And I want to make sure I've got this the right way up. So this is the lower part of the card. I'm just going to try not to take off all of the tearing tape. So I'm just taking that out so far, and I'm just folding over the backing tape. I'm not taking all of the backing tape off in one go because I want to have a bit of control here. Right, now I'm going to carefully line up this piece of card where I want it to be before I actually press down anywhere. And I'm just going to take my time, so forgive me if I go quiet, because I want this to be right, and I think that is just about where I want it. So I can take off all the backing off of my tape and I can press down. Okay, and this time I will reach for my piercing tool. And now on this side I can just go ahead and I can just take all of the backing off. I'm just going to fold over top and press it down, and there we are. Right, when I cut my piece of Emerald Envy in half to make the outer of the card, I cut the piece I had left over into half again. So I now have a piece that is full length of a piece of A4 and a quarter of the width, and I've already started scoring it at the quarter A4 mark, which is 7.45 millimeters. But I'm not worrying too much about that. I'm just using the markers on my scoreboard. So I've done one end. I'm going to turn it over and mark the other end, and these go thusly. Now I can see where my middle mark is, and I'm just lining up so that I have an end fold. I've made up 3 of the panels that go inside the card. I'm just going to finish off the third. So this is a bit of the Daffodil Delight card, which is so I'm just going to put some spots of snow on the back of the Daffodil Delight square. And oh, I should tell you how big they are, shouldn't I? The outer square is 6.5 centimeters, and the inner square is 5.5 centimeters. Because the piece that it's going to go on, each of these, is 7.5 centimeters, roughly, give or take. And I'm not going to put any extra dimension because the inside of this card is going to be pretty bulky, so I'm just applying snail to add my Pacific Point star on there. So this is my strip of Emerald Envy, and this is how it's going to pop out. So that side and that side are going to be what's stuck down. So I'm now going to put my my stars. I've chosen to do 4 the same. You don't have to do that. You can put whatever you like. And I'm just lining those up. So there we are. Here's my folded strip, and I'm holding it so that it's like a letter M, and I'm just going to turn it over so that the folded bit is at the top, and I'm just going to position that on my card base, and I've got some fast fuse here, and on this part of the leg here towards the bottom of it I'm going to give it a generous amount of fast fuse. I'm just going to close, keeping that as centered as I can. I'm just going to close up my card. I'm going to flip it over, and on this leg I'm going to put some more fast fuse, and again I'm going to be quite generous with it, and I may even come in afterwards and put some liquid glue. Right, okay, so that's coming over there, and this piece that I just put the fast fuse on is going to come on top of it. Okay, and now if I've done it right, fingers crossed, because attempt one didn't work, there it is. I finished off the card with 3 stars in Watermelon Wonder. Just punched them out with my my star punch, which is the same punch that I used on the inside of the card. And I do hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if so, I'd very much like it if you'd click the like button, or if you'd leave me a comment, or if you subscribe to my channel, and please do feel free to share this with anybody you think that might be interested. I have a blog, I have a Facebook page, I will be posting more very soon, but for now, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.